The stars above Thesson 4 burned cold and distant. Inside the planetary medical center, Ambassador Kirith stood at the window with her forearms trembling. Her purple skin had turned pale with worry. Behind her, the hospital beds stretched in endless rows. Every bed held a dying Thessani. The plague had come without warning 3 months ago. It started in the farming villages and spread like fire through dry grass. The Thessani people had never seen anything like it. Their bodies could not fight the disease. Their doctors had no cure. Every day more people fell sick. Every day more people died. Kirith had sent out the distress call 2 weeks ago. She used every communication channel in the galaxy. The message was simple and desperate. They needed medical help. They needed doctors. They needed supplies. They needed someone, anyone, to save her people. The Galactic Medical Relief Coalition received the call. High Coordinator Velen reviewed the situation in his comfortable office far away. He was a Vendrani, tall and thin with gray skin that looked like stone. Velen had seen many emergencies in his long career. This one seemed bad but not unusual. He approved the emergency broadcast. The call went out to every medical facility in known space. Help Thesson 4. Send doctors. Send medicine. Save lives. The signal traveled through space for days. It passed through peaceful systems where war was just a word in history books. It reached worlds where everyone lived in safety. And then the signal reached a small blue planet on the edge of explored space. A planet the galaxy had only recently discovered. A planet called Earth. Earth was different from other worlds. The galactic community had marked it with a special designation. They called it a Class 12 death world. On Earth, the weather could kill. The animals could kill. The plants could kill. Even the tiny organisms that lived in the water and soil could kill. Humans had survived by becoming the most dangerous thing on their planet. In Geneva, the United Earth government held an emergency meeting. Representatives from every nation gathered in the Great Hall. They listened to the distress call from Thesson 4. They heard the desperation in Ambassador Kirith's voice. Secretary General Martinez stood at the podium. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had lived through 3 wars and 2 pandemics. She knew what suffering looked like. The debate lasted 6 hours. Some representatives wanted to send only doctors and supplies. Others argued for a different approach. They remembered too many disasters on Earth. They remembered relief workers attacked by pirates. They remembered medical teams caught in crossfire. They remembered aid convoys that never reached their destination. In the end, the vote was unanimous. Earth would help, but Earth would do it the human way. 3 days later, 12 ships left Earth orbit. They were not the small, peaceful vessels other species used for medical missions. They were human ships built by people who knew the universe could be cruel. The lead ship was called Hope's Shield. It looked like a hospital ship. It had red crosses painted on its white hull. It had medical bays and surgery rooms. But it also had something else. Hidden under the hull panels were railguns and missile batteries. The cargo holds contained both medical supplies and weapons. The crew wore both doctor's coats and combat armor. Dr. Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of Hope's Shield. She was the chief medical officer. She had spent 10 years in field hospitals across Earth. She had treated wounds from bullets and bombs. She had performed surgery while buildings shook from explosions. She had saved lives in the worst conditions humans could create. Beside her stood Colonel Marcus Webb. He was a big man with scars on his face and hands. He had commanded troops in 5 different conflicts. He had seen relief missions attacked. He had watched good people die because they came unarmed to dangerous places. He had promised himself that would never happen again. The human fleet traveled through space for 2 weeks. They used this time to prepare. The doctors studied the plague data sent by the Thessani. The soldiers studied maps of Thesson 4. They planned for every possibility. Hope for the best. Prepare for the worst. That was the human way. When they arrived at Thesson 4, Ambassador Kirith was waiting at the orbital station. She had received word that help was coming. She expected a small team of doctors, maybe some medicine. What she saw made her freeze in shock. 12 massive ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They moved in perfect formation. Their hulls were covered with weapons. Sensors showed energy shields at full power. These were not medical ships. These looked like warships. Kirith rushed to the communication center. Had she called for help and received an invasion instead? Her hands shook as she opened the channel. Dr. Chen's face appeared on the screen. She wore a white medical uniform with a red cross on the shoulder, but she also wore a sidearm on her hip. Behind her, Kireth could see both medical equipment and soldiers. The human doctor smiled. It was a warm smile, kind and professional. But there was something else in her eyes. Something hard and determined. Dr. Sarah Chen speaking for the United Earth Medical Expedition. "We received your distress call, Ambassador. We are here to help," Kireth found her voice. "You brought warships." Dr. Chen's smile did not change. "We brought hospital ships, Ambassador. They just happen to be able to defend themselves and the patients they are protecting." Colonel Webb stepped into view. He wore combat armor with medical insignia on the chest plate. "I am Colonel Marcus Webb, military commander of this expedition. We understand you have a medical emergency. We are prepared to establish field hospitals and begin treatment immediately. We are also prepared to ensure those hospitals remain safe." Kireth looked at the two humans, a doctor with a gun, a soldier who talked about protecting hospitals. She did not understand. In the peaceful galaxy, medical missions did not need weapons. Healers did not come with armies, but her people were dying. She had no choice. "You are welcome to Thessanmere. Please, we need your help desperately." Dr. Chen nodded. "We will begin landing operations immediately. Ambassador, I promise you this. We will do everything in our power to save your people. Everything." The human fleet moved toward the planet. The ships descended through the atmosphere in tight formation. On the ground, the Thessani watched in amazement and fear. The ships landed in the open fields outside the capital city. Their engines barely made a sound, but the ground shook under their weight. Ramps opened. Humans poured out. They moved with purpose and speed. Some wore medical uniforms and carried equipment. Others wore armor and carried weapons. They worked together like parts of a single machine. Within 6 hours, the humans had established 3 field hospitals. Each one had surgery rooms, isolation wards, and supply storage. Each one also had defensive walls, guard towers, and weapon emplacements. High Coordinator Velen watched the reports from his office. He felt growing concern. He sent an urgent message to the humans. "This is a medical relief mission. Why do you need weapons? Why do you build fortifications? This is not a war zone." Colonel Webb received the message. He thought about all the disasters he had seen, all the good people who died because they were unprepared. He sent back a simple reply. "We hope you are right, Coordinator. We truly do. But on Earth we learned a hard lesson. A place is not a war zone until someone starts shooting. By then it is too late to prepare. We choose to be ready." That night, the first Thessani patients came to the human hospitals. Dr. Chen and her team worked through the darkness. They took blood samples. They ran tests. They compared the plague to diseases from Earth's history. As the sun rose over Thessanda IV, Dr. Chen stood outside the medical tent. She was tired but not finished. Around her, soldiers patrolled the perimeter. Above her, scanners swept the sky and ground. The humans had come to heal, but they had also come prepared for anything. Ambassador Kireth watched from the city. She still did not understand these strange humans. They spoke of mercy but carried guns. They offered medicine but built walls. They were nothing like the peaceful species of the galaxy. She did not know that soon. Very soon she would understand. She would learn why humans came armed to save lives. She would discover that the plague was not the only danger on Thessan IV. And she would be grateful, so very grateful, that the Deathworlders had come prepared for war. The human medical camps had been running for 5 days. Dr. Sarah Chen barely slept. She moved from patient to patient, checking vital signs, adjusting treatments, making notes. The plague was strong, but her team was stronger. They were saving lives, but something bothered her. Something did not fit. She sat in her office tent with the test results spread across her desk. Lieutenant Rodriguez, one of her best nurses, stood beside her. Rodriguez had served in 4 disaster zones on Earth. She knew when something was wrong. "The pattern is too perfect," Dr. Chen said quietly. "Natural diseases do not spread like this. They mutate. They change. They have weak spots. This plague does not. It hits everyone the same way. It spreads at the same speed everywhere. It is like someone designed it." Rodriguez leaned closer to look at the data. Her hand unconsciously touched the weapon at her hip. "I have seen bioweapons before, Doctor. In the African water wars. This looks like those." Dr. Chen felt cold despite the warm air. She called Colonel Webb immediately. Webb arrived in 3 minutes. He listened to Dr. Chen's explanation. He looked at the data with the eyes of a soldier who had seen biological warfare. His jaw tightened. "I need to know if I am right," Dr. Chen said. "I need more information about where this plague started, about how it spread." Webb nodded. "I will send recon teams. If this is a weapon, someone deployed it. Someone might still be here." Within an hour, 3 reconnaissance teams left the camps. They moved quietly through the countryside. They carried scanners and weapons. They were looking for evidence. They were looking for enemies. Sergeant Miller led Team 1 north into the mountains. The Thasani said those mountains were empty. No villages, no farms. Nothing but rocks and wind. But Miller's scanners showed something else. They showed energy signatures. They showed buildings. They showed activity where there should be nothing. Miller and his team moved carefully through the rocks. They climbed higher into the cold air, and then they saw it, a base, a military base hidden in the mountains. Ships sat on landing pads. Weapons batteries pointed at the sky. Soldiers walked between buildings. But these were not Thasani soldiers. The Thasani were a peaceful people. They barely had a defense force. These soldiers were something else. They wore mismatched armor. They carried heavy weapons. They had the look of mercenaries, pirates. Miller took photos. He recorded everything. Then he pulled his team back before anyone spotted them. They moved fast through the mountains. They needed to report this. They needed to warn the others. Back at the camp, Colonel Webb listened to Miller's report. His face showed no emotion, but his hands gripped the edge of the table. Dr. Chen stood beside him. Ambassador Kirith had joined them. The Thasani diplomat's purple skin had gone almost white. "Pirates," Webb said quietly. "The Ravager Collective by the look of their ships. They are scavengers. They find weak targets. They soften them up. Then they take what they want." "They released the plague," Dr. Chen said. "It was not a natural outbreak. They made your people sick. They made you weak. Then they were going to take your planet." Ambassador Kirith collapsed into a chair. Her forearms shook. "We called for medical help. We never thought about military threats. We never imagined anyone would attack us. We are farmers. We have nothing valuable except our land." "Your land is valuable," Webb said. "Fertile planets are rare. The Ravagers probably planned to take the planet, then sell it to the highest bidder. But they did not expect anyone to respond to your distress call. They certainly did not expect us." Dr. Chen looked at Webb. "What do we do now?" Webb's expression hardened. "We do what we came to do. We save lives. And we stop anyone who tries to prevent that." He called an emergency meeting. All senior personnel gathered in the command tent. Doctors stood beside soldiers. Nurses stood beside Marines. On Earth, medical and military worked together. They had learned how through hard experience. Webb explained the situation. The room grew quiet. Then Lieutenant Rodriguez spoke up. "So we have a choice. We can leave and let the pirates take this planet, or we can stay and fight." "We stay," Dr. Chen said firmly. "We have patients who need care. We do not abandon patients," the others nodded. It was not even a question for them. On Earth, you protected the people you came to help. You did not run when things got dangerous. You prepared. You fought. You won. Webb sent a message to High Coordinator Velen. He sent all the evidence, photos of the pirate base, analysis of the plague, everything. The response came 6 hours later. Velen's face appeared on the screen. He looked worried and uncomfortable. "The Galactic Council has reviewed your findings. We are concerned, very concerned. However, we must follow proper procedures. We will send diplomats to negotiate with these pirates. We will demand they leave peacefully." Webb kept his voice calm. "Coordinator, these pirates deployed a bioweapon against civilians. They killed thousands of innocent people. They will not leave peacefully just because you ask." Velen shifted uncomfortably. "We must try diplomatic solutions first. The galactic community does not approve of violence. We are a peaceful society." Webb's expression hardened. "Coordinator, while you negotiate, those pirates are preparing to attack. They know we have discovered them. They will not wait for your diplomats. They will strike first." Velen looked away from the camera. "That is your opinion, Colonel. The Council will handle this situation according to our protocols. Please do not take any aggressive actions. Just continue your medical work." The screen went dark. Webb stood silent for a long moment. Then he turned to his officers. "Increase security patrols. Put all defensive systems on standby. I want eyes on that pirate base every hour. If they move, I want to know immediately. Dr. Chen moved through the hospital wards that night. She checked on her patients. Many were improving. The treatments were working. She felt satisfaction at that. But she also felt worry. Outside these walls, danger was coming. She found Lieutenant Rodriguez changing an IV line for an elderly Thasani patient. The nurse worked with gentle efficiency. Rodriguez had killed enemy combatants in 3 different wars. She had also saved hundreds of lives in disaster zones. She understood that a good person could do both things when necessary. You think they will attack? Rodriguez asked quietly. Dr. Chen nodded. They will. They cannot let us stay here. We know what they did. We can testify against them. They have to eliminate us. Rodriguez checked her weapon, then went back to caring for the patient. Then we will fight, and we will keep these people safe. The attack came 2 days later. It started at dawn. The sensors detected movement first. Ships lifting off from the pirate base. Ground vehicles moving through the valleys. They were coming fast. They were coming in force. Colonel Webb was in the command center in seconds. He watched the tactical displays. 50 pirate soldiers, 10 vehicles, 3 aircraft. They expected an easy target. They thought they were attacking a medical camp with no defenses. They were wrong. Webb's voice was calm on the radio. All stations, this is command. Incoming hostile forces. Rules of engagement are active. Protect the patients. Protect the facility. Stop all threats. The human camp transformed. The walls that looked decorative suddenly showed their true purpose. Weapon ports opened. Shields powered up. Soldiers moved to defensive positions with practiced speed. Inside the hospital, Dr. Chen heard the alarm. She did not panic. She had heard alarms before. She turned to her staff. Continue treatment. Stay calm. The soldiers will handle the threat. We handle the patients. The pirate vehicles came over the hill expecting to find frightened doctors. Instead, they found a fortress. They found humans ready for war. The first pirate vehicle exploded before it could fire a shot. The second and third followed seconds later. The pirate aircraft tried to strafe the camp. Point defense systems tracked them. Shot them down. Burning wreckage fell into the empty fields. The pirate soldiers tried to retreat. They scattered, they ran. But human drones tracked them. Human snipers watched them. Within 10 minutes, it was over. Across the galaxy, people watched. Someone had recorded the battle. The video spread through the galactic network. Species that had never seen real combat watched in shock. They saw humans fighting with terrifying efficiency. They saw medical personnel calmly continuing their work, while explosions rocked the ground outside. They saw Lieutenant Rodriguez performing surgery on a Thasani child. They saw her pause when an enemy round hit the building. They saw her calmly give orders to target the threat. They saw the threat eliminated. They saw her return to the surgery without missing a stitch. Ambassador Kureth watched the aftermath from the city. She saw human soldiers checking the wreckage. She saw human medics treating injured pirates. She saw that humans could kill their enemies and then save those same enemies' lives. She began to understand what made Deathworlders different. They did not want to fight, but they were very, very good at it when necessary. And even in battle, they never stopped being healers. The video from Thesson Fu played on screens across the galaxy. High Coordinator Velen watched it for the 7th time in his office. Each viewing made him more uncomfortable. Each viewing raised more questions. He called an emergency session of the Galactic Council. Representatives from 50 species gathered in the Great Chamber. They all had seen the footage. They all had opinions. Representative Zalman from the Kirathi Collective spoke first. This is unacceptable. The humans came to provide medical assistance. Instead, they engaged in military combat. They destroyed pirate vessels. They killed dozens of beings. This is not how civilized species behave. Representative Chen Torres stood. She was human, the new ambassador from Earth. She was young, but her eyes held old pain. She had lost family in the European famine wars. She knew what it meant to watch good people die while others debated. With respect, Representative Zalman, what would you have us do? Those pirates deployed a bioweapon. They killed thousands of innocent Thasani. They attacked our medical facility. Should we have let them destroy our hospitals? Should we have let them kill our doctors and our patients? You should have waited for diplomatic resolution. Zalman replied stiffly. Violence is never the answer. The galactic community has protocols for these situations. Chen Torres looked around the chamber. How long do your protocols take? Days, weeks? How many people die while you negotiate? The humans came when no one else did. We came prepared for any situation. We saved lives while also protecting those lives. That is our way. The debate raged for hours. Some species supported the humans, others condemned them. But one thing was clear. The galaxy did not know what to do with Earth. These Deathworlders did not follow the rules. They did not wait for permission. They acted. On Thesson 4, Colonel Webb received daily demands from the Council. Withdraw your forces. Stop your military activities. Let the galactic authorities handle the situation. He ignored every message. His mission was clear. Protect the patients. Complete the medical work. Stop the threat. The evidence was overwhelming now. Dr. Chen had analyzed the plague completely. It was definitely a bioweapon. Sophisticated, targeted, designed to weaken but not immediately kill. The Ravagers had planned this carefully. They would have waited until most Thessani were sick. Then they would have moved in. Claimed the planet, sold it, disappeared before anyone noticed. But the humans had disrupted that plan. The humans had shown up armed and ready. The humans had saved the Thessani and exposed the plot. Now the Ravagers had a problem. The humans knew everything. The humans had evidence. The humans could not be allowed to leave. Webb studied the intelligence reports. The pirate base had not been evacuated. In fact, more ships had arrived. More soldiers. More weapons. The Ravagers were not retreating. They were preparing for a bigger attack. He called a staff meeting. Dr. Chen joined him in the command center. Ambassador Kirith attended too. The Thessani diplomat had changed in the past weeks. She no longer looked fragile. She stood straighter. She spoke with more confidence. She had learned something from the humans. Webb pointed to the tactical display. The Ravagers are bringing in their full fleet. 3 capital ships, 12 fighters, 200 ground troops. They are going to hit us with everything they have. They want to eliminate us and complete their original plan. Can we win? Kirith asked quietly. Webb considered the question. We can defend the medical facilities. We can protect the patients. But we cannot stop them completely with just defensive measures. They will keep coming. They will wear us down. Eventually, they will succeed, so what do we do? Dr. Chen asked. Webb turned to look at her. We go on offense. We hit their base. We destroy their command structure. We eliminate the threat at its source. Ambassador Kirith touched Webb's arm with one of her 4 hands. Colonel, I have learned much from your people. I have learned that sometimes peace requires strength. That sometimes protecting life means taking life. My people authorized me to say this. If you need to act, we support you. Do what you must to save Thessanar. Webb nodded slowly. Then we move tonight, fast and hard. We show them what happens when you threaten human patients. Dr. Chen stood. I need to prepare the medical facilities. If there is fighting, there will be wounded. Both ours and theirs. We will treat both. That is our oath. Webb smiled slightly. I would expect nothing less, Doctor. The planning took 6 hours. The assault force would be small. 50 soldiers, 4 attack craft. The hospital ships would remain behind with defensive forces. Dr. Chen and most medical staff would continue caring for patients. Lieutenant Rodriguez volunteered to go with the assault team. She was a nurse, but she was also a veteran combat medic. She had skills the team needed. Webb briefed his team. The mission was simple. Penetrate the pirate base. Neutralize their command ship. Capture their leader. Extract intelligence about other targeted worlds. Get out alive. The soldiers checked their weapons. The pilots checked their craft. Rodriguez checked her medical supplies and her rifle. She had learned long ago to carry both. On Earth, mercy and violence often walked side by side. They launched at midnight. The ships flew low through the mountains. They used stealth systems to avoid detection. The pirates were watching the medical camps. They did not expect the humans to bring the fight to them. The attack was swift and precise. Human soldiers moved through the pirate base like ghosts. They disabled sensors. They neutralized guards. They moved toward the command ship in the center of the base. The pirates finally realized what was happening. Alarms blared. Lights blazed. Soldiers poured out of barracks. But it was too late. The humans were already inside the command ship. Webb led the breach team. They moved through corridors with deadly efficiency. Pirates tried to fight back. They failed. Human weapons were more advanced. Human training was better. Human motivation was stronger. These pirates had killed innocent people with disease. The humans would not let that go unpunished. They found the pirate commander on the bridge. Kravix was a Zelthari, a species known for aggression and greed. He was large and armored. He was also terrified. He had attacked what he thought were helpless medics. He had discovered they were warriors. Webb pointed his weapon at Kravix. You deployed a bioweapon against civilians. You killed thousands. You attacked medical personnel. Under Earth law and Galactic law, those are war crimes. You are under arrest, Kravix snarled. You have no authority here, human. This planet is ours. We claimed it. Webb's expression was cold. You claimed nothing. You murdered innocent people, and now you answer for it. The extraction was harder than the assault. Pirates surrounded the command ship. They fired rockets and energy weapons. The humans had to fight their way out. Several soldiers were wounded. Rodriguez stayed busy, treating injuries while under fire. She bandaged wounds with one hand and returned fire with the other. The assault craft came in fast. They provided covering fire. The team loaded the wounded and their prisoner. They lifted off through a storm of enemy fire. One craft took damage. Its pilot, Lieutenant Harris, kept it flying through skill and determination. They made it back to the medical camp. Dr. Chen was waiting. She had prepared surgery rooms. She did not ask if the patients were human or pirate. She just went to work. That was the oath she had taken. Save lives. All lives. Even enemies. Across the galaxy, the footage of the raid played on every news channel. Humans had attacked a military installation. Humans had captured the pirate leader. Humans had fought with a level of skill that shocked peaceful species. But what shocked them more was what came next. The humans treated wounded pirates with the same care they gave their own soldiers. Dr. Chen performed surgery on Kravix himself, removing shrapnel that would have killed him. She saved his life so he could stand trial. High Coordinator Velen called Webb. The Council demands an explanation. You conducted military operations without authorization. You attacked foreign vessels. You captured a being who should have been left to galactic authorities. Webb's response was calm but firm. We saved lives, Coordinator. The Thessani are recovering from the plague. The pirates can no longer threaten them. We also recovered intelligence about 12 other worlds the Ravagers were planning to attack. We will share that information with you. You can save those worlds. If you act, Velen was silent for a long moment. Finally he spoke. The Council will review this matter. But you have created a problem for us, Colonel. You have shown that violence can be effective. You have made us question our ways. Webb leaned forward. Coordinator, violence is not good. It should never be the first choice. But sometimes it is the only choice. We tried to tell you the pirates would not negotiate. We were right. We acted to protect innocent lives. If that makes us warmongers in your eyes, so be it. We will carry that judgment. But we will not carry the guilt of letting good people die when we could have stopped it. Dr. Chen delivered a speech that was broadcast across the galaxy. She stood in her medical uniform, blood still on her sleeves from surgery. She spoke with quiet passion. People ask why we came armed, why we prepared for war when our mission was mercy.
I will tell you why.
Because we learned, through terrible experience, that good intentions mean nothing without the strength to protect them. We have watched relief workers murdered. We have watched hospitals bombed. We have watched diseases used as weapons. The Ravager Collective was not finished. Kravix was captured, but he was not the only leader. The organization had spread across dozens of systems. They had fleets. They had resources. And they had pride. News of the human raid spread through the pirate networks. The story grew with each telling. A small group of humans had attacked a fortified base. They had defeated 200 soldiers. They had captured a commander. The Ravagers were embarrassed. They were angry, and they decided to teach the humans a lesson. Captain Zrel commanded the Ravager battle fleet. She was a Korthan, a species built for war. She had raided 50 worlds. She had never lost a battle. When the collective called for revenge against the humans, she volunteered immediately. She gathered her forces. 5 capital ships, 30 fighters, 500 elite soldiers. She would crush these humans. She would destroy their medical facilities. She would show the galaxy what happened to those who interfered with the Ravagers. On Thesson 4, Colonel Webb watched the enemy fleet approach. His sensors had detected them 2 days ago. They were not hiding. They wanted the humans to see them coming. They wanted the humans to be afraid. Webb was not afraid. He was calculating. He called his final staff meeting before the battle. Dr. Chen attended. Ambassador Kirith came too. Lieutenant Rodriguez stood at the back of the room. They all knew what was coming. They all knew the odds. "We are outnumbered 5-1, Webb said calmly. "They have more ships, more weapons, more soldiers. In a straight fight, we would lose. So we do not fight straight." He explained his plan. It was risky. It was bold. It was very human. The hospital ships would appear to be defenseless. They would broadcast distress signals. They would seem to be preparing for evacuation. The pirates would see easy targets. They would commit to a full assault. And then the humans would show their true strength. Dr. Chen listened to the plan. She understood the risk. The medical facilities would be bait. The patients would be in danger. But staying passive would also endanger the patients. At least this way they controlled the battlefield. "I want all critical patients evacuated to the underground bunkers," she said. "Anyone who can survive the move goes below. We keep only the most stable patients in the surface facilities, and we have trauma teams ready for heavy casualties." Webb nodded. "Do it. We have 12 hours before they arrive." Those 12 hours felt like 12 minutes. The humans worked with frantic efficiency. Patients were moved. Weapons were positioned. Systems were tested. Everyone knew their role. Everyone understood the stakes. Ambassador Kirith helped evacuate patients. She was amazed by how calm the humans remained. They joked while preparing for battle. They smiled while checking weapons. They had faced death so many times that it no longer paralyzed them with fear. One young human soldier, Private Chen, was checking his rifle when Kirith approached. The Thessani diplomat touched his arm gently. "Are you frightened?" The soldier considered the question. He was 19 years old. He had survived the Australian drought conflicts. He had seen friends die. "Yeah, I am scared. But I am more scared of what happens to these people if we fail. So I will do my job." Kirith realized that was the human way. Fear was normal. Courage was acting despite the fear. The Ravager fleet arrived exactly when Webb predicted. 5 massive ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They moved into orbit above Thessenful. Captain Zarel surveyed the human positions from her command chair. She saw the medical facilities. She saw the hospital ships. She saw what looked like minimal defenses. She smiled. The humans were fools. They had stayed to protect their patients. That compassion would kill them. "Launch all fighters," she ordered. "Prepare ground assault teams. I want those facilities destroyed. I want every human dead. Make them an example." The pirate fleet moved forward. They did not bother with tactics. They did not worry about ambush. They had overwhelming force. They would simply crush the humans through sheer numbers. Webb watched them come. He waited. Patience was a weapon too. The pirates entered low orbit. They prepared to begin bombardment, and then the human hospital ships transformed. Hull plates slid aside. Weapons emerged. The ships that looked like floating hospitals revealed themselves as warships. Railguns, missile batteries, energy cannons. They had been there all along, hidden behind medical facades. Webb's voice was calm on the command channel. "All ships, weapons free. Let them have it." The humans opened fire. The peaceful medical mission became a hurricane of destruction. Pirate fighters exploded. Pirate ships took heavy damage. Captain Zrel watched in shock as her fleet was torn apart. "What are they?" she screamed. "They are supposed to be doctors." Her tactical officer gave the answer. "They are doctors, but they are also soldiers. They are humans. They are from a death world." The battle raged for 6 hours. The pirates had numbers. The humans had skill and preparation. Pirate ships tried to retreat. Human vessels pursued them. Pirate soldiers landed on the surface. Human defenders were waiting. Lieutenant Rodriguez commanded one of the defensive positions. Pirates charged her location with overwhelming force. She did not panic. She coordinated fire. She called artillery strikes. She treated wounded soldiers between firefights. She did 3 jobs at once because that was what combat medics learned to do. Private Chen defended a hospital ward. Pirates tried to break in to take hostages. Chen and 3 other soldiers held the entrance. They fought for 30 minutes against 50 enemies. When reinforcements finally arrived, Chen was out of ammunition. He had held the line with nothing but determination and a combat knife. Dr. Chen never left the surgery rooms. Wounded came in steady streams. Human soldiers, Thessani civilians caught in crossfire, captured pirates. She treated them all. Her hands never stopped moving. Her voice never lost its calm. She had seen war before. She knew how to work in chaos. One nurse asked her how she stayed so calm. Dr. Chen's answer was simple. I focus on what I can control. I can control these surgery tools. I can control these treatments. I cannot control the battle. So I do my job and trust others to do theirs. Captain Zrel realized she was losing. Half her fleet was destroyed. Her ground forces were being pushed back. The humans were not just defending. They were winning. She tried to order a retreat, but her damaged ship could not escape. Human fighters surrounded her. Human marines boarded her vessel. She fought them in her command center. She was a warrior from a warrior species. But the humans were warriors from a world where everything tried to kill them. They had been fighting since birth. Colonel Webb personally accepted her surrender. He looked at the defeated pirate captain. You thought we were easy targets because we came to heal. You thought mercy meant weakness. You were wrong. Humans learned long ago that you can be kind and still be dangerous. You can save lives and still take them when necessary. Zrel glared at him. You are monsters. You pretend to be healers, but you are just killers. Webb shook his head. We are both. We heal those who need healing. We fight those who need fighting. And we protect those who cannot protect themselves. That is what you fail to understand. Our compassion does not make us weak. It makes us strong, because we know exactly what we are fighting for. The battle ended as the sun set over Thessan 4. The human forces had won. The cost was high. 12 humans were dead. 34 were wounded. But they had protected every patient. They had saved the Thessani people. They had destroyed the Ravager threat. That night, Dr. Chen stood outside the hospital. She was exhausted. She was covered in blood. But she was satisfied. They had done it. They had saved lives and won the war. Ambassador Kireth found her there. The Thessani diplomat looked at the human doctor with wonder and respect. You saved my world. Twice, once from disease and once from conquest. How can we ever repay you? Dr. Chen smiled tiredly. You do not need to repay us, Ambassador. You just need to remember. Remember that peace is precious. Remember that freedom is worth protecting. Remember that sometimes good people need to be strong. Teach that to your children. That will be payment enough. Across the galaxy, people watched the battle footage. They saw humans fighting with incredible skill. They saw medical personnel becoming soldiers and soldiers becoming medics. They saw a small force defeat a much larger one through training, courage, and determination. They saw what Deathworlders could do when pushed to fight. And they began to understand why Earth had survived. 3 months after the battle, the Galactic Council held a formal hearing. The Grand Chamber was filled with representatives from 200 species. They had come to judge humanity. They had come to decide if the Deathworlders belonged in civilized space. High Coordinator Velen stood at the central podium. His gray stone-like face showed deep concern. He had reviewed all the evidence. He had watched all the footage. He had interviewed witnesses. Now he had to present his findings. The humans came to Thessan Fur as medical personnel, he began. They were requested to provide humanitarian aid. Instead, they brought weapons. They engaged in military operations. They killed hundreds of beings. They captured enemy leaders. They destroyed enemy vessels. The question before this council is simple. Did they violate galactic law? Did they exceed their authority? The chamber was silent. Everyone waited for the verdict. But first, Velen continued, we must examine the facts. The plague on Thessanfur was not natural. It was a bioweapon deployed by the Ravager Collective. Thousands of innocent civilians died. The pirates planned to conquer the planet and sell it. This council did nothing. We debated. We discussed protocols. We proposed negotiations. Meanwhile, people suffered and died. He paused and looked around the chamber. The humans did something. They saved lives. They cured the plague. They exposed the pirates. They protected the Thessani people. Yes, they used force. Yes, they killed enemies. But every action they took was in defense of innocent lives. Can we truly condemn them for that? Representative Zellman stood. With respect, Coordinator, the issue is not whether their goal was noble. The issue is their methods. Violence should always be the last resort. They made it the first resort. Ambassador Chen Torres rose to respond. Her voice was calm but firm. Representative Zalman, with respect, you are wrong. Violence was not our first resort. Our first resort was medicine. We came with doctors and supplies. We established hospitals. We began treating patients. Violence only came when pirates attacked us. We defended ourselves and our patients. That is not aggression. That is protection. Dr. Sarah Chen was called to testify. She stood before the council in her medical uniform. She looked tired but unbowed. She had spent the last 3 months completing the medical mission on Thesson 4. Every patient had been treated. Every person had been cured. The plague was gone. Dr. Chen, Velen said, you led this mission. Please explain to the council why you came armed, why you prepared for war when your mission was mercy. Dr. Chen took a breath. She thought about all the disasters she had seen on Earth. All the times good intentions failed because they lacked protection. Coordinator, members of the council, I will tell you a story from Earth. 200 years ago, there was a terrible famine in Central Africa. Relief organizations sent food and medicine. They sent doctors and aid workers. They sent everything needed to save millions of lives. But warlords attacked the convoys. Pirates stole the supplies. Bandits killed the workers. Less than half the aid reached the people who needed it. Millions died anyway, not because we lacked resources, but because we lacked the will to protect those resources. She paused, her voice growing stronger. We learned from that tragedy. We learned that compassion without strength is worthless. Mercy without protection is empty. When we came to Thesson, we came prepared for any situation. We hoped for the best. We prepared for the worst. That preparation saved lives. Thousands of lives, both Thessani and human. Would you have us do differently? Would you have us come unprepared and watch our patients die? Colonel Webb was called next. He stood at attention before the council. His uniform was clean but showed the wear of combat. His face bore scars from the battle. Colonel Webb, Zalman asked sharply, do you feel any remorse for the lives you took? Webb considered the question carefully. I regret that violence was necessary. I regret that people died. But I do not regret protecting my medical team. I do not regret defending innocent civilians. I do not regret stopping pirates who used disease as a weapon. If the same situation happened tomorrow, I would make the same choices. The only difference is that I would be better prepared. Zalman bristled. So you admit you would do it again? You would bring war to a medical mission. Webb's expression hardened. Representative, I did not bring war. War found us. Pirates attacked a hospital. They tried to kill doctors and patients. What would you have done? Surrendered? Negotiated while they murdered innocent people? On Earth we have a saying, the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. I refuse to do nothing when lives are at stake. Ambassador Kirith was the final witness. She stood before the council with all 4 arms spread in a gesture of sincerity. She spoke for the Thessani people. My people were dying. We sent a desperate call for help. This council discussed it. Many species expressed sympathy. Some promised aid that never came. Only the humans responded. Only the humans came. They saved us. They cured our plague. They exposed the pirates who attacked us. They protected us when we could not protect ourselves. She looked directly at Zalman. You ask if they exceeded their authority. I ask what authority was needed to save lives. You question their methods. I question why no one else helped. You debate their violence. I celebrate their mercy. Without the humans, my entire species would be dead or enslaved. They wanted medics. But we thank the stars that the Deathworlders came armed for war. Because we needed both. The council deliberated for 2 days. The debate was fierce. Some species wanted to expel humanity from the galactic community. Others wanted to give them medals. Eventually, they reached a decision. High Coordinator Velen announced the verdict. This council finds that humanity acted within acceptable parameters. Their use of force was defensive and proportional. Their medical mission succeeded completely. However, we note with concern their willingness to use violence. We encourage humanity to embrace more peaceful methods in the future. It was a compromise, not a victory, not a defeat, just acceptance. But something had changed in the galaxy. Within weeks, 12 species quietly contacted Earth. They asked for help. They had problems similar to Thesson, pirates, bandits, threats their peaceful societies could not handle. They needed people who could heal and fight. They needed Deathworlders. The United Earth government created a new organization. They called it the Hippocratic Guard. The name came from an ancient Earth oath, first do no harm. But the modern version had an addition. First do no harm, second let no harm be done. Dr. Chen became the director. Colonel Webb became the military commander. Lieutenant Rodriguez became the training officer. Together they built something new. Medical teams that could defend themselves. Relief missions that came prepared. Mercy backed by strength. Their motto was simple. We answer calls for help. We save everyone we can. We stop anyone who tries to prevent that. On Tessan 4, the people built a monument. It stood in the capital city where the human camps had been. 2 statues, one of Dr. Chen in her medical uniform, one of Colonel Webb in his combat armor. They stood side by side. Healer and warrior. Mercy and strength. The inscription read simply, they came as healers. They fought as warriors. They left as friends. May we never forget that peace requires both compassion and courage. The galaxy slowly began to understand the human way. Some species started training their own medical personnel in self-defense. Others requested human advisors. The peaceful species remained peaceful, but they became more careful, more prepared, more realistic about the dangers in the universe. 6 months after Tessan 4, another distress call reached Earth. A mining colony was under attack by raiders. The local government requested help. They needed medical support for wounded civilians. They needed someone to stop the attacks. Dr. Chen stood on the bridge of Hope's shield. The ship had been repaired and upgraded. It looked even more like a hospital now. But the weapons were still there. Hidden but ready, Colonel Webb checked the tactical displays. The mission looked dangerous. Raiders were well armed and ruthless. But the colonists needed help. That was enough. Dr. Chen opened the ship-wide channel. Her voice was calm and confident. All hands prepare for deployment. We have people who need medical care. We have colonists who need protection. Standard protocol applies. We hope for a peaceful resolution. We prepare for combat. We will save everyone we can, and we will stop anyone who tries to prevent that. The crew responded with practiced efficiency. Doctors checked medical supplies. Soldiers checked weapons. Everyone did their jobs. They were ready for anything. The human fleet jumped to faster-than-light travel. They were heading into danger. But they were not afraid. They had learned something that the peaceful galaxy was just beginning to understand. True strength came from protecting others. True courage came from facing danger for a worthy cause. And true mercy required the power to defend it. Lieutenant Rodriguez sat in the troop bay. She was checking her medical kit and her rifle. A young soldier, Private Martinez, sat beside her. It was his first mission. He looked nervous. You scared? Rodriguez asked. Martinez nodded. Yeah. What if I freeze? What if I fail? Rodriguez smiled. Being scared is normal. It means you understand the stakes. But remember why we are here. We are not here to fight. We are here to save lives. The fighting only happens if someone tries to stop us from doing that.